Ben Prater.
BBC Wiltshire.
Now, this time yesterday, we were hearing how some of Swindon's prefabs are being renovated for the first time since being built back in the 50s. The Borough Council spending £7 million on that particular project. Well, the method of putting them up was quick and helped ease Britain's housing problems after the Second World War. And Elaine Harwood from Historic England was the expert on post-war buildings.
It's something that was lost, but which is now coming back. And I'm finding lots of people are interested in prefabs now because they're offering a model for housing being built today when materials are expensive and we need to build a lot more homes quickly.
So the way the prefabs were made lives on. The inspiration is still there for others. It was a great idea for what it was intended to do. Dave Hilton is from the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre in Swindon, and he's been showing BBC Wiltshire's Ian Longdon what's around these days.
We have a typical, what we refer to as a timber frame construction, where the insulation and the actual structural element of the building is made out of timber. So you've got a timber frame that has been injected with insulation, and any cladding that goes on the outside is on the outside of a cavity. So you'll have your frame, you'll then have a cavity as per normal construction, and then the outside could be brickwork, stonework, or a rendered type of finish.
And that's one of many different types you've got here, and we're going to look at some others in a second. But is that a typical type nowadays?
It has become much more common, yes. It's kind of superseded traditional brick and block construction that we are used to having, but it's very similar in the manner in which the cavity is still used.
If we compare now to what was around, let's say, the 1940s and 1950s, when so many prefabs went up in different parts of Swindon, different parts of Wiltshire, the methods used then compared to now, is there much of a difference?
The prefabs that were made then, a lot of them were prefabricated concrete or other products, and they might have been clad with steel. That had an issue on it in itself, that it could get condensation on it, which would then create moisture going into the actual structural element of the building. These days we have membranes that one can see on a lot of the demonstrations here that guide the moisture away, hence why we have the cavities for that very reason. The way that they're made off-site is very similar, and the precision that is used and the modern technologies have obviously changed, but we're using more timber frame type products now and timber-based products, that they would be made in a controlled factory. Even all of the waste can then be reused to heat the factory.
Okay, so not so much in the way of steel, so we're not going to see another Pinehurst at the Tin Town anytime soon, it sounds like. Let's wander down this way, so we'll move away from that particular timber frame. Lots of pretend front doors and windows here in amongst all the brickwork, and if we go into this one here, different type of modern day prefab housing. What's this one then?
What it is effectively is two bits of OSB board, which is orientated strand board. It's a bit like a chipboard, and it's glued together with insulation. So you've got two boards that are about 140 mil apart with insulation in between them, and they come in big panels, and they are made up into the sections of your houses and then brought on site and just quickly put up. So you could build an average 2-story house in probably around 7 to 9 days.
And it seems that building a house this way now has become really popular, be it with councils, be it with entrepreneurs, or just people building their own house personally. Why has that been the case, do you think?
A lot of the time the precision is based on finding an area where you have the skilled trades. You can't always get the skilled trades to be on site, so why not have them centralized in a factory, and then you just construct the house on site. You also then have less time on site. Effectively, your project could take a year, but you would actually spend a lot less time on site waiting for the trades to do layers and layers of bricks and develop the whole house. So you could get weather tight in the space of 2 weeks, but you would have had a longer wait for that to happen while the frame was constructed in the factory.
Dave Hilton there from the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre in Swindon, talking to BBC Wiltshire's